Hello and welcome to the Coronacast comedy show. If it is your first time tuning in, I am Deliso Chaponda. I am a stand-up comedian who, over the years, I performed to comedy clubs and theaters all around the world. But because of Corona, I have no audience. So daily, I stream from my flat. Sometimes I do shows where I just do jokes, which have been suggested by audience members. And other days, like today, I do a deep dive on one subject. It's half talk show, but there's still lots of joke. It's still funny because that is my nature. Today we are doing an episode about blame, right? Blame. Why did I decide to do an episode about blame? Because last few days I've noticed there's been a lot of time spent on blaming people. So in the UK, in newspapers, on Twitter, a lot of people are debating whether the government's response was quick enough, blaming them for not being fast enough. In America, Trump blamed the WHO, Trump blames China, right? All over the world, people are blaming China, people are blaming bat soup, people are blaming 5G. There's a lot of blaming. People are blaming Trump, people are blaming weird conspiracy theories. But either way, there's a lot of time being spent on blame. Right? So I decided to do an episode about blame. The way it's going to work is they're going to be four little sections, right? The first sections, I'm going to talk about blame, the value of blame, the history of blaming people, right? Second section, I'm going to talk about personal blame, when we blame ourselves or we blame people in our lives, right? Third section, I'm going to talk about societal blame. That's when societies blame people for things, the bigger blame. And then the final section, I'm going to be talking specifically about blaming the coronavirus on things and the effects of that. So those will be the four sections. Between each section, I will take a look in the chat room at all the people who are here. Also, if while you're watching the show, if you're enjoying it and you want to support the show, there's a link down below where you can tip me, right? If you do a tip, I'm not sure if it works, but if you do a tip, there's a little jar, like there's no amount too small or too big. You can tip like 5 pence, right? You can tip whatever you want to tip, or if you're wealthy, you can tip a grand amount. But either way, that little jar on one of the sides will fill up with tips as they arrive, right? And possibly that will work. So let's get started. People in the chat room, hello to Stictus. Hello again to the corner. Corner Grum, why did you say? Yes, this is a new look. I've been, I switched from one provider to another provider and just trying to upgrade the stream. Hello, Laban. Hello, DJ D3F. Hello, everybody. Hello, Sheila. Let's get started on talking about blame, right? Now, first of all, I've got to say that there's been a long history of blaming people and blaming things in society. In fact, there's even a term for it, a scapegoat, right? You blame a scapegoat. And where the term scapegoat comes from is really interesting, right? In the Old Testament, there's a ritual of Yom Kippur, right? Where a goat was symbolically burdened with the sins of the Jewish people and then thrown over a wall outside Jerusalem to rid the nation of its sins. Isn't that so cool? Like, you take your sins and you put them into an animal and then you just fling it away. Like, I would love that. Wouldn't it be great if you're like, hey babe, I cheated on you and it was with your mother. She's hot for an older lady. I'm really sorry, but no, don't get me angry. I'm putting my sin into this cat and flinging it over the balcony, right? It's a very interesting idea, right? That this goat will symbolically take all of the sins and then it will be dispensed with. But then I also wondered, why a goat, right? Why a goat? There's so many other animals. Why not a cow, right? Why not a scape cow, right? Why not a mouse? Something we don't like anyway. Grab a mouse and fling it, but who knows? Maybe they tried other animals. Maybe they tried a pig. Maybe they tried all sorts of things. And the only one that God was willing to trade them for was for a goat. I don't know. Goats have got some value. In fact, if you're ever doing lobola, right? If you're paying a dowry for a woman. Like, you can do like 5 goats. Yeah, you can do cows. I don't think you could do 5 mice unless the woman was very unattractive and her family were like, we'll take the mice. Okay. All right. So either way, goats. Why goats? Think about it, like Santa Claus accepts milk and cookies. Maybe if we left Santa Claus a goat, we'd get better gifts. Just putting it out there. If there are any kids watching, slaughter a goat next Christmas. You'll get what you want. But at least with the Jewish, it was just a goat. In ancient Greece, they used to do a similar ritual. It was called at the festival of Thargelia, if I'm saying it right. They used human scapegoats called pharmakos, right? So the way this happened was the Athenians would use a man and a woman. They would choose a man and a woman, right? And then they would be led around with strings of figs on their necks and whipped on the genitals with the rods of figwood and squills. So they'd be whipping these poor man and woman on the genitals as if it's bad enough, right? And then when they reached the place of sacrifice on the shore, they were stoned to death, their bodies burnt, and their ashes thrown to the sea to fertilize the country and to get rid of all of the sins of the country. And I was like, what would you have to do to be a person chosen as pharmakos? And this was the really sad thing. They would find the 2 ugliest people they could find. Yeah! You're already ugly. You've had a difficult life. No one wants to date you. And they decide to whip you on the genitals and then sacrifice you. Losing a beauty pageant in ancient Greece was terrible. Imagine knowing I'm ugly and I'm going to be sacrificed. I bet you'd start negotiating. Wait. Isn't beauty in the eye of the beholder? You not might find me hot, but she likes me. Don't you like me? Please. Hey, I'm just big boned. Pretty grim though. But I'm just saying that there is precedence. This weird thing is people used to think being chosen as a scapegoat was actually an honor because you are doing this for your country. And if I was chosen, I'd be like, what honor? You think it's a great honor? You take it. I don't need it. You can get the genital whipping and sacrifice if you like. But speaking of religion, it comes up a lot, the blaming of people. Sometimes people blame God. Even right now, a lot of people are saying God is to blame. He's punishing all of us. Or they're blaming the people who they think God is angry with, right? They're blaming gay people, right? They're blaming trans people. They're blaming abortion. All of the old scapegoats are coming back up. But I'll tell you one interesting one, which used to be one of the scapegoats and has fallen out of favor. Adultery used to be a classic, right? Anytime something horrible happened, you would blame gay people, you would blame trans people, you blame anybody different, but you also blame adulterers. That was like old school. Somewhere along the line, adultery stopped being in the blame Olympics, right? I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe enough political people were also doing the adultery that people were like, hey, let's just leave adultery alone. But okay, so they blame God. There's other classic one is blaming women, right? Think of Adam and Eve. I'll tell you what's interesting. If you read the Bible, there's actually no mention of an apple. That came later. That actually came later. It's very interesting. There's things which have been added to the story and which are just kind of accepted. And a big part of it was women are dangerous, right? Women are dangerous. This is why in certain cultures they like cover those women up. If I have sexual thoughts, it's not my fault, huh? It's not my fault. It's her fault for dangling her sexy ankles around, right? You know what I mean? It is. Now, I'm a bit of a hypocrite, I've got to admit, because as much as I'm telling you that, it's hypocritical that all of these, societies blame women. I mean, think of the witch trials. Witch trials started, there was a flood. The first one, there was a flood. People came on shore. They said, who is responsible for the flood? They thought it was a witch. And that started and spiraled out of control as they accused one person and then that person accused another person. So women, not the weather, were responsible, right? But I'm a hypocrite because, I can say, how terrible men over history have been blaming women. But I'll admit, I blame a woman many a time. All right, I've blamed a woman many a time in my relationship. For example, I remember being with a partner. I'm not too proud to admit this. I couldn't get it up. I couldn't get it up at night. We tried to have sex. I couldn't get it up, right? And it wasn't my fault. It was her fault. Why do I say it was my fault? How could it be my fault when 3 times earlier that day, I was able to get it up and whack off? Then in the evening, I can't get it up. Clearly, she's not attractive enough. Right? Oh, gosh. So it's interesting how we all blame people. So the second section, I'm going to talk about the advantages of blame. Oh, no. I was going to do that. It's still the first section. Sorry. So there are advantages to blame, right? It's not entirely a terrible thing, right? Blaming people, for the first case, it can bring you some comfort, right? If you feel the world is unfair and you're a victim of all these terrible things, it can be comforting rather than feeling like it just happened and it's senseless. So maybe it's reassuring to think, okay, the coronavirus has come. It's not just because of random luck. There's purpose in this. And then another thing is it can bond you to other people in the same struggle, right? If all of you have been wronged by the same thing, you can meet together and say, oh, isn't it terrible? In fact, I sometimes think like my exes should form a support group. The wronged exes of Daliso Chaponda, and they can just meet and say, oh, he's so insensitive. Oh, he never shows his emotions, and they can comfort each other because I'm tired of hearing about it. No, but also things like, financially blaming someone, you can sue them and you can get a reward for what happened, right? Another one is it can make you popular. Yes. Now, this is the big thing. You say who is to blame, and that you are the person who's going to punish them, get rid of them from your country, you get popular. This is why politicians are the blame champions, right? Blame champions. It's a great way to get elected. You tell them who's to blame for it, who to be afraid of, and how you're the only person who can solve it. It's an old school thing. In fact, they never blame themselves, right? That's the other thing. You blame the other party. You know the Shaggy song? It wasn't me. She saw me banging the counter. It wasn't me. That's literally the theme song of all politicians. You ask them any questions. What happened? What went wrong? It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was the previous guy who was in power. Yeah, he was in power 5 years ago. But I'm still living with his horrible legacy. And the more people you can blame, if you can blame a big group, better, right? Over history, Jews have been blamed. Freemasons have been blamed. Marxists, immigrants, Chinese people like to blame groups. So, before we get into personal blame, let's take a look at the comments. Okay, here we go. Hello, Rachel Safi. You are back. Hello, good to have you here, Rachel. I toast you. I toast you with Barocca. All I drink on these shows is vitamins to fight off corona. Excellent. Good. John Appleseed, every day you ask for a dead baby joke. I don't do those jokes, but if you want one, there are many comedians who you can find them. Check out Frankie Boyle, check out Jimmy Carr. There are lots of comedians with very dark senses of humor. I am not one of them. Okay, let's keep going. Norris Shingle says blaming game started in the Garden of Eden. Even before that, I can tell you, in religions before Christianity, there was already blaming of people. Blame is old school. It's old school. Hi, Narcy. Hello. Good. Okay, this man is, there he goes. Excellent. Ignore Johnny Appleseed. He just likes attention. Excellent. Hello, people on Twitch. Hello, everybody. Hello. Here we go. Now, let us get to the second part of it where I talk about personal blame, right? Because all of us aren't necessarily living the life we want to live, right? And so we've got to ask ourselves, who is to blame, right? Why isn't our life the perfect life we want to be living, right? Who's to blame? So, for example, I look at myself in the mirror and I ask myself, why am I fat? If you knew me back when I was in my 20s, I was fit. I used to run. I was a runner. I was a long distance runner. Now I'm fat. Why am I fat? Why am I fat? And I've looked into it and I've realized it's not my fault. It's because of my life as a comedian. I'm always traveling. I'm always eating late and unhealthy places. You know who I blame? I blame McDonald's. And I blame sugary drinks like Coca-Cola. It's not my fault. It's their fault for filling me up with all of those calories. What else? How about sometimes I think I should be more famous. Yeah? I'm funny. I'm funny as hell. Why aren't I more famous? And I figured it out. It's because I'm fat. Think about it. If I was like fit, muscular, and this funny, I'd be famous as hell. Clearly, it's because I'm fat. So again, the blame goes to McDonald's and Coca-Cola for filling me full of calories. Why am I single? I'm such a charming fellow, man. I'm funny, right? I'm funny. I'm lovely. Clearly, again, it's because I'm fat. Do you see what I'm saying? It all goes back to McDonald's and the sugar. Now, I'm being silly, but really, when you think about it, a lot of us like to blame people for whatever we don't like in our lives. And one of the ones which is ever present is people blame their parents. Yeah, if you're a parent taking care of your kid right now in coronavirus, right? Getting a headache, right? Having to be patient as you sit and try to teach them logarithms, even though you don't understand logarithms yourself, even though you're sacrificing everything for your child right now, you should know that when they grow up, they're going to blame all of their problems on you. Yes, doesn't matter how good a parent you are, they'll find a way to blame you, right? And I always find it a weird thing, people who blame their parents. Like, isn't there an age when you can't blame your parents for stuff anymore? Like, I understand if you're 20, but you know when you're 60 and you're still blaming your parents for something that happened when you're 12? I'm like, haven't you got over it? Isn't there other stuff you could complain about? Isn't there other reasons maybe you're not a success? Is it really you're not a success because your dad wasn't emotional enough and your mom was overly critical? You know, maybe if you worked harder. I don't know. We love to blame, right? Also, the other funny thing is you may be blaming your parents, but you've got to understand at the same time you're blaming your parents are probably blaming you. Yeah, it's a circle, right? Because you will blame your parents, but your parents are like, oh my God, I was having a good life. My kids ruined my life, right? Having kids ruined my marriage, right? Ruined my finances. So I guess it's a fair trade because they're blaming you, you're blaming them, right? Now, let me just say, as a caveat, right? If you legit had an abusive father, abusive mother, somebody who was whipping you with a belt every day, someone who was throwing like cartons of milk at you over the, like, look, I'm not, then yes, by all means complain about it. By all means talk about it. I'm not talking about those cases where people were living through a childhood of hell, right? I fully understand. Yes, maybe that's why you're a stripper. Okay, I'm not going to judge you if that's why you're a stripper. But if all it was you didn't get a few hugs, those are not deep scars, man. And if you go into therapy and you don't have real problems, I think the therapist should be able to say, just don't waste my time. Just leave. Just leave. I'm here for the people with real problems. I'm probably insensitive, but that's just my thoughts on the matter. So that was a very short section. We're going to get to the society blame next. So let me take another look at the, what's this? Here we go. Hello. Hi, cheers. Chris Waddy says he remembers me being funny at the Paul Smith show. Please be funnier, mate. No, I won't. This is what I'm doing right now. So please leave. You are not forced to watch this show. Excellent. Robin Green. We've seen on television how far Africans have to walk for water. You're in England, jog to Waitrose. That's what I have to do. Excellent. Here we go. So we continue. With the third part is people like to blame society. How society deals with stuff. There's loads of horrible things which happen in society. Coronavirus is just one of them, right? And then you have to find a way to blame them, right? One thing which we blame is for violence. You know, when there are acts of violence, like some nutter goes on like a gun rampage or stuff, one thing people blame is video games, right? It's because of violent video games. And video games brainwash the kids and they become violent. I've always wondered about this because I'm like, I love Tetris and I love Pac-Man, right? Every time I see a ghost, I guess it would make me run, but I think I would run even if I didn't love Pac-Man. And every time I see a brick, I am not compelled to pick it up and run and jam it into a gap in a wall, right? But there are so many things which are horrible, which people try to explain. Like, oh, there's too much rape, there's too much sexual violence. Is it because of porn? Is it because of strip clubs? Like, I know I've got a friend who's a stripper. And she said she remembers when there was this group, this they're like a feminist group who were against strip clubs. And so to protect her, because they're acting to protect strip clubs, they sent spies into Sheffield strip clubs with video cameras, right? And they were videotaping the strippers without their knowledge, videotaping stuff, and then they tried to get the strip club closed, right? And I remember that friend of mine saying, wait, they're trying to protect me by filming me secretly and getting the place that I earn money shut down? I don't see how that's protecting me. Don't blame me for your problems. So it's very complicated. Now, I'm not saying it's always wrong. I'm just saying that as much as you may be right in who you blame, they're not necessarily who can blame. And does it solve things or does it create new problems, right? And so to my final section where I'm going to talk about the blaming about Corona. Now, before I do the final sections, if you have any questions, put them in the comments. If you have any comments, put them in the comments. Even if you don't like the show like Chris Whitey, just comment in the comments because, as I said, I am performing to nobody, so it helps to know what's working and what's not working. So let us keep going with the final section where we talk about the things that people blame for Corona. So Seb Abasi says, who's my special friend? LOL. I have friends. I'm in the entertainment business. You've got to understand, you make friends with strippers not because you're just frequenting these places, but also because sometimes I'm on a show and I'm the warm-up act and then the ladies come out and dance. So you befriend people who are all in entertainment. And actually, I'll tell you what's funny. Strippers have a similar life to comedians, right? Because you start out as an opening act, right? You travel from city to city. You're working your way up to become the headline act. It's a very similar life. Only difference is I don't do private dances. Even if you are a very good customer, I will not come into a little room with you and tell you jokes one by one. So, coronavirus. Okay, let's talk about the coronavirus and the things that people blame for the coronavirus. The first one of these is conspiracy theories. I'm sure you've heard all the conspiracy theories. People blaming 5G, right? Saying 5G is responsible for creating the coronavirus, that somehow technology went and created a disease. I'm just thinking, why is this the first time technology has created a disease, right? Why hasn't, my electric toothbrush given me tooth decay, right? Why hasn't, my television made my eyes sprout like sores or something like that? Why is this the first time that it is technology doing this, right? But then also, more than that, people in the UK, I don't know if it's happening in the rest of the world. These people who believe it and are trying to protect us from the coronavirus have started attacking 5G towers and setting them on fire. Right? These are the 5G towers, which also provide 4G, 3G, 2G. So just generally make our phones work. And there's got to be a point where our phones stop working in certain areas because of these idiots. And you've got to understand, right now in Corona, we need our phones, man. It's the only thing keeping some of us sane. If you leave alone. I've got a solution. You know all these people who believe in conspiracy theories, you can't try to reason with them. You can't reason with them and say that, oh no, it was probably because, it just jumped from species to species naturally. No, you can't reason with these people. So what you've got to do is you've got to fight conspiracy with the bigger conspiracy, right? So what we need to start spreading around, right, is that actually the coronavirus was created by Lamborghini, right? Tell them that Lamborghini are a secret society which took over the Illuminati, and they have started to create the coronavirus, so all of us are going to have to get a vaccine, and we're going to have to get a computer chip in our bodies when they vaccinate us. Blame Lamborghini, right? Then they're going to have to go find Lamborghinis to burn, and, those are rich people. They've got, they can defend themselves. By the way, Lamborghini, if people start attacking you, do not come and sue me. It was not my fault. Oh, gosh. The other one is blaming China. Trump loves this. He's blaming China all the time. It's because of China. It's blaming China. Now, yes, the disease did start in China, but you got to understand, diseases start everywhere, right? We are all humans on the same planet. It's not like, if you think of a disease which started in the UK, that's the UK's fault. Or if you think of a disease which started in Malawi or Kenya, that's Kenya's fault. It's a disease, right? It's a disease. It doesn't come from our human malevolence, right? But, I guess the thing is, it helps him to blame China and have anger at China, because instead of people being angry at him, they're angry at China, right? And did you know that he's thinking of suing China? Yes, suing China for a disease, right? Well, if he does do it, I think they should tell him that, well, okay, just take whatever we owe you off the 1.1 trillion you owe China already. Blame the WHO. That's the other one, right? Blame the WHO, World Health Organization, for all of the problems. Now, look, this whole little discussion I've had, I am not saying that it's all wrong. Maybe some of these bodies are to blame, right? Maybe the WHO could have responded faster. Or if you're American, maybe you can blame Trump, right? If you're British, maybe you can blame Boris Johnson for not responding fast enough, right? Maybe. But the problem with blame is you can never be 100% sure, right? You can't be sure that if, this happened when Obama was in power, it would have been done smoothly. It seems logical, but you can't be sure unless you could build a time machine and go back in time, right, and make Trump not win and see what happened. But if you've got a time machine, why are you wasting your time doing that? Tell us, warn us, tell us what's coming. But anyway, before I look at the final comments, I will say that, ladies and gentlemen, blame does not necessarily help anything, right? But if you did not find these jokes funny, it's not my fault. It's your fault for not having a good sense of humor. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, Sammy! Sammy's in the house. Good. Good. Glad you're in the building. That's a very funny comedian in the house. Hello, Seb. Hello, Mac Mbewe. Hello, everybody. That fact, wow, somebody's got a problem with the gap in my teeth. You know what? This show is also a podcast, right? So if the gap in my tooth is bothering you, just download the podcast and listen to me without looking at my face, my man. Hello, Robin Green. Hello. Lovely to watch you, Madman from Malawi. Am I always so manic? I generally am manic. I am doing very well. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. This is a shorter show, just half an hour, because that's all I had to say about blame. But I am here broadcasting every night, right? I'm broadcasting every night. I will be here tomorrow, 9 p.m., doing a show. It'll probably be one of the jokes where I do jokes from audience suggestions. So if you want to make a suggestion for a joke tomorrow morning, find my Twitter, find my Instagram, put down a topic, and I will make a joke about that topic for tomorrow's show. This has been the Coronacast with Daliso Chaponda, and I will be back tomorrow. Stay safe, and I hope you're doing well.